Hey, welcome everybody. Hey, Stephanie, you're not here alone. I'm here with you. Kind of works the same way that TikTok does. So, hey, CC, you made it. See, everybody's afraid to try new things. I am too, but I was in here playing with this a little bit earlier today. So, I don't think it's going to be as hard as we all think it's going to be. So, I appreciate you guys all coming over here while we tried this out for the first time today. You made it. You made it. Hi, Vanessa. Jamie, you made it. We've got 10 people in. Tell me what you guys can see as you're down in the comments. I'm so glad, CC. Thank you very much. And if there's anything we can do to help out, let me know. Marty, you're here. Yeah. What can you guys see? Can you tell how many people are in the live? Does it show you that? Tell me what's the view? Do you like the screen? Do you like the layout? Can you tell how many people are in the live? What kinds of things can you guys see just from a participation end? 15 are in the chat. Yeah, I think 15 total are in the live. That's right, 15. You got it. Good, good. It says the number of messages. If you guys could you go up and like the live? I think that's another thing that gets it out there. They don't call it the FYP here, but it gets it out there on the YouTube algorithm, so they share it some more. So if you could hit the like button, we're at about 6 right now. That would help. Hey, Ann. Yeah. Don't forget, guys, I did want to let everybody know that a lot of people have YouTube because of their Gmail. So remember that when you come on here, if you've got your real name or something like that, and you don't want people to see that, you can change that. You can go in and change what shows up here. Just make sure that you do that before you come in. Good to see everybody. It's working. See? It's working. I think it's great. Jill says even I figured it out. That's great. Yeah, Jill, you did. Oh, man. So this is good. I like the quality of the stream. I actually am using the exact same camera that I was using over on TikTok, but I think the quality of the video comes through a little bit better here. I really like that. I really like that. Listen, if there's anybody here that isn't part of the Back 40 over on TikTok, let me tell you guys a little bit about myself. My name is Will Westmoreland, and I am a farmer. I'm an agroforestry farmer in Southwest Missouri, but I'm also a political consultant from the Democratic Party. I own a political consulting firm called Highlander Political Strategies. So I'm what you call a blue dot in a red ocean, like many of the people that you see over here in the comments. A lot of them are also blue dots out in a red ocean. And what we do on the Back 40, for those of you that may be coming through and seeing us on TikTok for the first time, what we do on the Back 40 is we've put a group of people together coming out of this last election who are like-minded individuals that are trying to accomplish change. And that change that we're trying to accomplish is to stand up and build a wall between some of the more negative activities of the Trump administration and what those activities would inflict upon innocent people in this country. And we just decided that instead of being a group of people that would stand up and complain and raise hell and tell everybody how angry we are, we wanted to be a group of people that did something about it. And that's what we're trying to do here. So if you're new to the group and you haven't been here before, all you have to do is subscribe to my channel. And every time we come up, you'll get a notice that that's happened. Yeah, thanks, Steph. If you guys would, give a thumbs up. Go in and like the live if you would. I do know I did a little bit of research, guys, before we started this. And that is one of the things that gets it out on YouTube's algorithm, is that the more likes that you get, it's very similar to TikTok in that regard. So do you guys care? Since we've got so many people in here, we had such a great TikTok live. I know we didn't get to talk about the poll that I wanted to talk about. There's a new poll that came out about rural American voters. And I thought that we could talk about that poll. You guys up for that? Can some of you stick around long enough to hear that? Give me a thumbs up over there in the comments. And if you can, I'm going to jump into it. Awesome. Awesome. This is exciting, guys. Let me ask you guys this. Does anybody know, I couldn't find anything in terms of videos that were out there on YouTube. Does anybody know if you can bring people up? on a TikTok, on a YouTube live? Does anybody know if you can do that? Because I have no idea if you can or not. Okay. CC would know. She says no, and she knows. Okay. Let me tell you guys about this new poll. Okay. There's a poll out there by the Center for Rural Strategies and Lake Research. Lake Research, for those of you, this name won't mean anything to you unless you play ball in the political arena like I do. But Lake Research is one of the best polling firms out there. They do a lot of internal polling. So whenever you see somebody from a Democratic campaign, on MSNBC or another one of these channels, and they're talking about their own internal polling, Lake Research is more than likely the polling company or one of the main polling companies that they would be talking about in this. And they did a poll in conjunction with the Center for Rural Strategies. And what I wanted to share with you guys, there were some really good takeaways in this poll. And the first thing that I noticed whenever I went in there is that this poll showed, and this is incredibly good news for us, this poll showed that 37% of rural voters, okay, over a third of rural voters are willing and able to overlook social, conservative, culture war issues to vote for a candidate when there are three issues that are involved. So let me lay that out for you. We all know that the main reason why rural Americans vote conservative and vote for Donald Trump is because of culture war issues. Well, what this poll showed is that there are three issues out there that will cause rural voters to overlook culture war issues in order to vote for a Democratic candidate. And those three issues were lowering prices, bringing good paying jobs to local communities, and a populist message focused on corporate greed. Now, let me say those again. Lowering prices, bringing good paying jobs to a local area, and a populist message focused on corporate greed. And I thought that that was really, really important for a lot of reasons. One is, if we were to get a third of the rural voters to switch over from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party because we were speaking to the issues that were important to them, that would make an incredible difference in election outcomes in this country. Not only at the national level or when we're electing senators and congresspeople, but at the local level as well when we're trying to elect school board members and city council members, et cetera. So I'm going to talk about the ramifications of that in a minute, why that's important. Let me ask, I'm reading the comments over here. Anything I need to do on my end that you guys know about? Is there anything that I need to do that I can do to help get this live out there? I see, let me do my first little comment here. Anything I need to do on my end, CC and some of the others of you that have done this before, just let me know. Drop it in the comments. I know we're all learning together here, and that's what this is about today. Looks like Billy made it in. Oh, I said his name, but he showed it. So Zeppo the dog made it in here today. Okay, so guys, why is this important? Do you remember right before Election Day? Now listen, I don't want to revise history here because I told you then, and I'm willing to admit it now, that I thought that based on the voter excitement levels that Harris was going to win. But you remember, as we got close to the end, I said, it's not going to be a blowout like a lot of these Democratic consultants are saying. Just don't believe that. We need to be fighting for every vote we can get right now. And I made the argument that I thought the election would be decided by 150,000 people over 3 states. We were pretty close to that, right? It ended up being, settled by 200,000 people over 3 states. But a couple of other arguments I made then, and then right after the election, is I said, what did we actually say to people about these 3 issues? In other words, I think the Democratic Party did all it could do in terms of speaking about, here's why Trump is not going to lower grocery prices. Here's why Trump is not going to make housing more affordable. Here's why Trump is not going to be good for taxing the wealthy in this country. who are now at this point earning money off of investments. They don't even have to work anymore. We did a really good job of pointing that out. Okay. What I felt like we didn't do a great job of pointing out, and I asked the question, tell me what we said that fell into this category. How are we going to lower prices? How are we going to make housing more affordable? How are we going to fairly tax the wealthy so that tax rates get more in line with what they were when I was younger and we were taxing the very super wealthy to help cover the things that we were trying to do in the public arena? And, it wasn't an I gotcha. It wasn't to try to show that I knew more than anybody else, but it was to ask the real question. It's okay to tell people that the other side is broken, but what are we offering up as an alternative? And Zeppo mentions this to me all the time. He brings this up all the time when he says, Will, we need to make sure we're not telling people, only telling people what's wrong with the Republican Party. We need to be talking about what are we trying to do in the Democratic Party to make lives better for people. And I think this polling really spells that out. I mean, that means that there are 66% of rural people that are never going to turn their back on the culture wars as things stand right now. But the more exciting piece of that for me as a political consultant, and it should be exciting for you as somebody that wants to be involved, that means a third of the people out there in rural America, if we can show them how the Democratic Party is going to lower prices, if we can show them, maybe I ought to call it the not Donald Trump Party, is going to lower prices, if we can show them how it's going to mean employment in their small town. Because remember, a lot of what's happening right now in terms of the jobs that are being produced in this country, that's happening at the urban level and suburban level, right? Like if you look at these new big factories that are coming in, like the microchip factories in suburban Columbus, Ohio, and places like that, a lot of these jobs are not coming to rural America right now. And listen, you and I can name off a lot of things that the Biden administration tried to do through the CHIPS Act and through the Infrastructure Act to get jobs to rural America, right? But I never heard those things in the campaign, at least not consistently. Okay. So that's what we need to do a better job of. We need to have policy directives that are clearly formulated toward rural America that do what these voters are asking for, right? They bring prices down, they create jobs, and they show us how the wealthy are going to pay their fair share. And if we can do I do, Doughboy, I actually do follow Steve Schmidt. I read all of his stuff on Substack, and I actually subscribe to him on here. And I do think he's a voice of reason. I don't disagree with him on everything because, at the end, he's a former Republican, but at the same time, he's the old school Republican type. But yeah, I do follow him. I really like him. I think the point here, though, that I wanted to make, guys, is that rural America, at least 37% of it is winnable if we can develop a strategy to reach out to them and to talk to them. And that's what we're trying to do here. So anyway, we're going to be talking about a lot more of this. Somebody did tell me, did you guys hear this, that YouTube's actually working on trying to add a feature on here where you can bring people up on your live? I did hear that. I don't know if it was from CC or somebody else, but I know it was a really large creator that's trying to move over to YouTube as well that told me that. Hopefully they'll be able to accomplish it. I mean, it's not that I mind doing this. Like, I don't mind carrying on the live out of the comments, but I really like having people up here with me. So my hope is that that's a feature that they'll add. And then maybe one of these other platforms, like the one Local was talking about when we were over on TikTok, maybe one of those will really take off, with a little bit similar layout. All right, guys. We need to stay on for at least 30 minutes, if you guys don't mind. So what do you guys want to talk about? Any questions? Let's just open it up here. Ask Will any question, Dave. If it's too personal and I don't want to answer it, I won't, but ask any questions you guys want to ask. Let's learn a little bit about each other today. Yeah, I do think we can say all the words here, Steph. I do. That's my understanding anyway. I've watched several lives with, I'll tell you who's been on here a long time. and that's Mr. Global. I've been watching his lives. My favorite food. Okay, I'm glad you asked this because I told you guys I've had some pretty challenging health issues here lately, and they all center around me losing weight. This turkey gobbler here, and everything's got to go away. So I have been striving to lose weight. Okay, so I don't mind telling you that. I don't mind telling you that I am going on Wegovy this coming week. My doctors at Kansas University have recommended that I do that because I have these pretty serious issues with fatty liver, and that helps take the fat out of your organs. So in the past, I say all that to say this, Steph. In the past, my favorite foods were um, I'd have to say sirloin and a fillet, the best cuts of the steak. I also have to tell you that my favorite comfort food is biscuits and gravy. And for those of you that know what I'm talking about, it's like I like to cook Jimmy Dean sausage. I'll sometimes, if I'm alone, I'll make it with the spicy Jimmy Dean. But if not, if the family's going to be around, I'll just use a Jimmy Dean standard sausage. I make it in a big saucepan, not on a skillet. Okay, I make it in a big saucepan. I break that up. I cook it. I like to sprinkle my flour in there. I use just the right amount of flour to soak up all the grease and coat the sausage. And then I make it. I don't use skim milk. Okay, I make it with a whole milk. That's a secret. A lot of you ladies out there and some of you men who cook, you know this. The secret to an excellent gravy is using whole milk and not skim milk, okay, or 2% milk. And I like to thicken that up, and then I like a good thick biscuit, all right? I like me a thick biscuit, and that means that I'm either going to go with a Gran or something along those lines, or if I'm going to make my own, it's not going to be a stovetop biscuit. It's going to be a yeast rise biscuit. And that is my favorite comfort food. So steak, biscuits and gravy, anything that's deep fried in the South. Now, what are my favorite meals going to be going forward? I've been putting together a new diet plan with the people at KU, and it's going to involve a lot of really lean chicken and some fish and lean beef made into a stir fry. And we're going to go with a really low sodium content stir fry. I have a feeling I'm going to be eating a lot of stir fry with a healthy stir fry sauce. And then they're loading on the legumes and stuff like that. So I'm going to be eating all kinds of beans, kidney beans, all kinds of legumes, anything you can possibly imagine. Jill, I've never been a big drinker my entire life. That's why I got to be honest with you, even though I make a joke out of it now, I was pretty upset when I first found out I had fatty liver because I've got guys that I know that drink a 12-pack of beer a day, and they've literally had their physicals in the last year, and they've got the livers of a 14-year-old kid. So I can have 3 glasses of wine or 3 beers a week. I don't do that, but they are encouraging me to start drinking a couple glasses of wine a week because it's good for blood flow. It's my understanding. I do drink 3 to 5 cups of coffee a day because there was a Harvard study that shows that coffee is really good for opening up the flow of blood in a fatty liver, which is good because I've got just a little bit of cirrhosis with my fatty liver, so that's a good thing. All right, tell us about your farm. Okay, my big farm, guys, I just sold not too long ago, to be honest with you. Because of my health issues, my family, my kids wanted me to get closer to them, and my farm was about an hour and a half away from my kids, had a 300-acre agroforestry operation. I sold that. I have a smaller farm right now that I do agroforestry operations on. And what do I mean by agroforestry? So I raise pecan trees, I raise Chinese chestnut trees, I raise all kinds of berries on this farm, blackberries, raspberries, blueberries, and then I also raise elderberries. Elderberries are one of the prime things that I raise. This is a much smaller farm, much smaller output, but I'm also right now in the market for a new farm closer to the area where I live now. So I would say before the end of the year, I'll be buying another larger farm or at least leasing land out on a long-term agroforestry lease. But my farm that I have now is beautiful. It's got woods on it. It's got open land on it. My dogs love it there. All kinds of deer. The one thing about agroforestry is you're not putting a lot of pesticides, et cetera, on the land. So you get a lot of smaller animals as well. So we've got a lot of squirrels and groundhogs and woodchucks and otters and things like that. And, we do a lot on that farm. And in the past, I've owned a 300 cow calf operation. So for those of you that have been involved in the beef industry, a cow calf operation is when you own female cows and you bring bulls in. You either rent bulls or you buy bulls to bring them in to breed those cows, and you sell the calves. You keep the heifers and you might breed them back, or you sell the calves for beef production. So I've had a 300 cow calf operation in the past. I've also had a lot of experience with horses. Now, I will tell you guys, I had a really long streak there right in the middle of life where the only farming I did is when I went home to visit the farm because the political work that I did and the jobs I held in corporate America kind of took me around the country a little bit. But for the last, I'd say almost 20 years, I've been really heavily involved, back in farming, cow-calf operations, et cetera. So, all right. I think I had some other questions in there. Oh, good, Steph. Well, we need to be there for each other. We'll tell each other how it's working, that kind of thing. So, what other questions do? Yeah, chickpeas are good, Kathy. I'm going to be spending a lot of time eating chickpeas. I just did my last food order, and I think I got 10 cans of chickpeas coming because apparently, for those of you that may be on Wegovy, if you don't mind sharing, my understanding is that the less fat you eat and the less fried foods you eat, the less likely you are to have all of the side effects that go along with it. Sheila, yeah, I was raised on a Hereford. Well, a couple of things I'll tell you about that. When I grew up on the farm, we started out, it was really heavy dairy area. So what we did is we bought Holstein calves, heifers, and we raised them up, and then we sold them to dairy farmers to become calves. Then after that, we traded over to beef cattle. We had a lot of Herefords. Most of them were polled Herefords. All of the bulls that we used on our cow-calf operation that I had, I think we were ranching around probably 1,200 acres and 300 cows, probably around 300 calves at any given time. All those were Hereford bulls. Yeah, cannelli beans, I've got those ordered. You got it. Dina, you're not the only one. I mean, a lot of people, dairy is the downfall. I'll tell you guys, this is how bad. Food has always been my vice. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I've never been a drinker. I've never been a smoker. But when I get stressed out, I've always gone to comfort foods or to ice cream, stuff like that. I can remember as a single dad getting really stressed out in the beginning because my youngest one, when I became a single dad, my oldest son was 9 years old, and my youngest son was only 18 months old. And I mean, I was doing it by myself. And I can remember many a night taking 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 scoops, man, I'm embarrassed to say this, 2 scoops of Betty Crocker buttercream icing, putting that in there, and then covering it with chocolate syrup. And I'm just here to tell you, in case you guys don't know, the doctors at KU Hepatology will tell you that eating a double cheeseburger and eating that much ice cream at night is just as bad for you as a 12-pack of beer, unfortunately, for your liver, especially if you have a genetic disposition for fatty liver, which a lot of people do. Okay, Holly, you know what I'm talking about then. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to keep from transitioning to that point. On the scale, I'm at a number 2 in liver failure right now. So if I can get this weight off, I can hold it where it is, and that's my goal. And, I don't know any reason why I can't do it other than willpower, because at one time I was built like a brick shithouse, as they say. But over time, the jobs, the politics, raising kids, hey, all you single moms out there know what I'm talking about. The focus becomes them and not you. And at a certain point in your life, you got to get back to it, right? So I'm kind of in that same boat, and I'll be thinking about you, Holly. I've done a lot of research into this. So if you're on the transplant list, I understand exactly where you are in the process, and I'll be thinking about you. Yeah. Oh, and if I had to give up beef completely, the only thing I've still got going for me is that I'll still be able a couple of times a week to eat a good lean beef. And I'm looking forward to that. It's going to take a little bit different form. It's not going to be a butter cooked skillet steak or, something like that. It's going to be more strip steak up in stir fries with a healthy stir fry mix, low sodium stir fry mix. But that's okay. I want to be around for my grandkiddos, and that's important to me. So, what other questions do you guys have? We got at least 5 more minutes. We need to. Oh, Sassy, I love venison. I should have said that. My freezer, about every 6 months, I get I get a side of beef. Once a year, I get a processed hog. And then, of course, I try to get all the deer meat I can during deer season because venison is really good for you. Eat it all the time. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right. What other questions? What have I missed? Fair game. Learn about Will Day. Any other questions you guys want to ask? Hey, Mini Stars. Good to see you. I've had buffalo, Jill, and I liked it. I did, but I can't get anybody else in my family to eat it. So if I bought it in bulk, I'd be the only one to eat it, unfortunately. JPT Farms made it here. I think I told you this before, JPT, but I love your content. Make more of it. Come on here and start making some. I really like it. I love seeing those old rigs. I do. So even if you're only making it for me, just come here and make it for me because I love seeing those old combines that are on there. That's some great content. I love it. And I guarantee you there's not enough of it out there. So if you feel the motivation to do it, keep making that content. Oh, that's great. Many Stars. Hubby recovered from Hep C. That's awesome. They kept testing me for that over and over and over again in the beginning because they couldn't understand why my liver enzymes were so high. They thought for sure I had, this is before they knew as much as they know now about fatty liver. They thought for sure I had Hep C. And I'm like, listen, I don't live that lifestyle. You can say whatever you want, but I don't live that lifestyle. And finally, they agreed with me. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that. I'm really not. I think one thing that social media does that I think is a good part of social media is we get to see a lot of amazing people. There are more good people out there than we think there are. And I think that's good. I think that's really good. Oh, I bet it was. I bet it was tough. How did I become a single dad? Oh man, Chris, that's probably, you know what? I'm gonna give you guys a piece of advice that you didn't ask for. The best decision I ever made as a dad, and my daughter would tell you this if she was up here, the best decision I ever made as a dad is I never said a bad word about my wife after we got divorced to my kids. I never said it. Now, you put me in a room with my friends, or if we were out drinking a beer in the garage with a buddy, yeah, I laid it all on the line. But the best decision I ever made as a dad is I never said a bad word about their mom, their stepdad, anything like that. So I think what I'm going to do is keep that philosophy. It's worked well for me. My kids have told me multiple times as they've gotten older, Dad, thank you so much for, never dissing mom, never putting her down, that kind of thing. It meant the world to them. And I always strive to try to, keep them to have a good relationship with her. Anytime she called, we answered the phone. And I think I'm going to keep that philosophy. But I'll tell you this. I was happily married on a Friday. And Monday morning, I was a single dad. And I think the bigger thing that I would tell you is it taught me a whole new respect for all the single moms out there, because putting together the daycare, coming home every night and doing the homework and signing the little book and doing all the things that I had to do, holy shit, I learned to love my mother even more than I already did, because it is a challenge. And thanks for the kind words, guys, but we need more of that. I tell you, it's not my place to walk up to people and tell them how to raise their kids. But whenever I see or hear somebody disparaging another parent, now listen, I don't want you to take this too far. If somebody's abusive or something like that, that's a different thing. Okay. What I'm talking about is just taking your anger that you have for your ex-spouse, taking that out on them by trying to destroy who they are in your children's eyes. That's all I'm talking about here. I didn't do that, and I don't want to start now. So I'm not going to really talk about how I became a single dad, but let's just say it was surprising and heartbreaking and all the other emotions that you feel when somebody you've been with for, 15 years, when that all just immediately ends. And I feel for people that go through it. And all I can say is I wanted to punch people in the face when they would tell me time heals all wounds, but it's true. It's true. It really does. And eventually that pain in the stomach went away, and I focused on, raising my kids, and I'd have it no other way than I've had it. I love them, they love me, and life is all about family. So, what other questions? I see some of you are going through this right now. My heart's with you, praying for you, because it's tough. It is tough, especially when you think it's going to last forever and you've made those sacrifices and you've put everything you can put into it, and then it just goes away. It's heartbreaking and it's hard on everybody. Just don't make it harder by putting your kids in the middle of it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to preach at you. I'm just telling you it worked for me, and I think it can work for other people. So that's right, Dina. That's right. And I found that, hey, listen, guys, I don't want to leave you with the impression that I make all the right decisions. I don't. I could name off 10 things right now that I did wrong, raising my children, that I wish I could go back and change. I can say I did the best that I thought. I did what I thought was best at the time. But we all change. We just got to try to grow, Sarah, you made it. You made it. You made it. I think we just got to keep speaking out, many stars. I think that's the key. Listen, right now, corporations obviously have the upper hand. I mean, they bought the presidency, right? One billionaire bought the presidency. And if you think about it, I don't know, I've read some different, analysis out there on social media, but, Elon Musk bought the presidency for the equivalent of what you and I maybe would buy 3 months worth of eggs for. That's how much impact 250 million had on his overall wealth. That's a pretty good deal. That's a pretty good deal. So I think we just have to put our voice. Well, you just said it. There you go. Many stars. We got to continue to put our voices together and to let our voices be heard. I think it's absolutely critical. Yeah, he bought it. No doubt about it. I think so too, but I don't know how. I mean, it's just going to be very difficult to make it happen, because just like the Republicans have convinced poor people that trickle-down economic works, and if you just make the rich richer, that's going to trickle down to you. They've also convinced them that corporations are people and that they have a right to, own a part of government and to free speech and all the other things that, we have as individual citizens of this country. Hey, Dina, let me do this. I won't be able to do it today, but I'll reach out to you in messaging tomorrow, and I'll walk you through how to do it. Okay. But we just have to keep making sure that our voices are heard. And to your point, many stars, I think that getting states to pass individual campaign finance reform is also critical as well, because this also happens at the state level. Here in the state of Missouri, we've got a guy named Rex Zingfield, who is he's a school charters guy, all this other stuff, far right, anti-women's rights, anti-abortion, everything. And he donates hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars at a time to the Republican Party here in the state of Missouri, along with the former owner of Tamco. And for those of you that don't know, Tamco is the largest shingle manufacturer in the world. And I think they're both billionaires. If not, they're close. And they basically fund the Republican Party. So you've got 2 or 3 people here in the state of Missouri that are funding all of the crazy right-wing religious zealotry that's happening in the legal system here. Yeah, I mean, we've got to change that in the Democratic Party too. I don't buy into the idea that the Democratic Party is fully bought and paid for. I will tell you that, because there are a lot of people active inside the Democratic Party, and I'm one of those people that are fighting like hell every day. And I've got to consider myself part of that structure, right? I make a living doing it. I've served on as a county party chair in rural counties. I've served in state party organizations, et cetera. And I got to tell you, I'm part of that structure. But I think, to your point, we take a lot of money from corporate America in order to compete with the Republicans. And I think that I think it's critical that, we need to be pushing for campaign finance reform in order to. All right, what did you send me to? Who else might I recommend or follow? Oh my gosh, there are a lot of really good voices out there. Yeah. If I mean, one thing I like about Steve Schmidt and some of the Lincoln Project people are that even though they're never Trumpers, they will still give you insight to the Republican and rural point of view. So I think that they're a good source to go to. Never forget that they're Republicans, okay? Even if they eventually decide to take on the banner of being, Democrats, there's always this little part of me that thinks that if the Republican Party ever got back to some normalcy, or if something's created that is similar to the old Republican Party, that they might go back to that. But I'd say anybody that used to be associated with, or that is associated with the Lincoln Project, is a good follow as well. In terms of people out there on the left that I follow, right now I'm doing a lot of deep diving into older reading. Okay, so I'm reading about the old rural progressive movement in this country. How our Kansas and Missouri and Iowa and Nebraska farmers used to be on the cutting edge of progressivism. A good place to start. It's a little bit older book. It was written back in the early 2000s, but What's the Matter with Kansas is a good place to start. If you haven't done that, if you want to learn about the transition of rural America, from a more liberal, progressive part of the country to a conservative part of the country, that's a place to do it. In terms of things today that I read, there's a really good publication out there called the Daily Yonder. So it's D-A, hang on, let me make sure I get the name right. Let me find this for you guys. Yeah, the Daily Yonder, DAILYYONDER.com. And I know it's a funny name, but it's the Daily Yonder. And they've got a really heavy focus and emphasis on rural America from more of a middle of the road to left leaning perspective. And that's all they talk about are rural issues on there. My son found this site, and it's going to become a go-to for me on a regular basis. So I listen to all the same ones, or I go to all the same ones that you guys are looking at here, the Bulwark and Tim Miller and the Midas Touch Network. But right now, and I just encourage any of you to do this if you can, is I'm trying to learn a lot about the history of the progressive movement in rural America in this country. I ordered a book here recently. If you're into reading and you don't mind reading books that are a little bit drier, I'm going to tell you this is a pretty dry book to read, but it really explains well the old progressive movement in America, in the rural areas of this country, and in farming. There is a book called Main Currents. Hang on just a second here. I want to make sure I get the name right. I just ordered it. Main Currents in American Thought, MAIN, Main Currents in American Thought. And that's a really good book to read too. It's an old school book. It was written back in the day, right when we were going through the progressive movement in rural America here. And you guys got to remember, like, this is what amazes me so much about, farmers allowing the corporate elite to walk on them the way they do, because there was a time in this country where farmers were marching in the streets all over Kansas and Missouri and Iowa and Nebraska and these other farm states, because Politics Girl is another really good one. If you guys don't follow that podcast, you should. But they were marching all over the streets of small towns in America to demand their piece of the pie. And how the Republican Party, I'm going to do a video on this because it's so similar to the Southern strategy where they took the old school Democrats in the South and turned them into Republicans. A very similar thing happened in rural America in regard to politics as well. A lot of farmers in America were truly gentlemen farmers and farm women. They were progressives, and they believed in the wealthy paying their fair share. And now a lot of rural America has just been sucked up into this huge trickle down, economics mess that we're in now, where they all think they're going to become billionaires and they're going to own 50,000 acres. And it's just not going to happen. The typical farmer's life is going to be spent farming, somewhere between 100 to 500 acres. And we need to get back to where we can make a living on that. What other questions do you guys have? If we get to the point where it gets to be boring, guys, we can shut it down. We've been on here for 30 minutes, but we've still got 39 people in here, so that's great. Any other questions you guys want to ask? Yeah, CC, I was just thinking about this the other day. It's funny that you mention it because I think I might do that. More to come. More to come. Yours truly might be dumping some cow poop on the Capitol Hill steps if things go the way we think they're going to go. And I think I might be able to get some people to follow me. I'm not kidding you, CC. I know this sounds like a joke, but I've been thinking a lot about this lately, about how French farmers do it. And I'm thinking I may try that strategy. Don't know if I'll make it that far, but I might try. So, Sarah, I don't think you can right now. From what I'm seeing from everybody else in here, you can't do multiple guests right now. But I do think it's a feature that they're going to add. Dina, what's the best crop to plant for profit? I would say in the yeah. All right, CC, it's on. I know a lot of good coffee shops there. Maybe we can get a cup in before they arrest me. I would recommend something in agroforestry, Dina. You can make more off an acre of elderberry than you can off an acre of cattle or corn or soybeans, et cetera. And right now, we sell a lot of elderberry here in the United States of America, which means we don't have to rely on the Chinese or anybody else to buy it from us. All the elderberry we raise in this country, every bit of it, we sell right here. Everything I raise, I sell. Same with Chinese chestnuts. I think I may have mentioned to you guys, I don't remember, but I'm actually going to hopefully here soon start milling gluten-free Chinese chestnuts. I'm trying to reach out to the University of Missouri right now to see if I can get some cooperation with them, but we're going to try to open a milling company where we can mill locally grown Chinese chestnuts here in the state of Missouri, and then sell that both in person and on the internet for people that need a gluten-free flour source. So, Stephanie, if you can stick around for 30 years, black walnuts are a great source of money. They really are. But if you just need black walnuts, there is a place called Hammons, Hammons, Walnuts, not far from my farm here in Missouri. If you go to their website, they raise black walnuts locally. They buy black walnuts locally, and you can buy anything you want. The black walnuts themselves, candies, whatever you want. Yeah, Doughboy, we're trying that. We're trying that here. My son's getting really active in agroforestry and plants and that kind of thing because he's in great physical shape. And, you know, I'll tell you guys, one real challenge for me right now in terms of farming, et cetera, is the physical nature of the job. So a lot of what I have to do, I have to hire to be done as I'm kind of dealing with some of these health challenges right now. Steph, it's called Hammons, Hammons. There you go. You got it. Hammons, if you just type in Hammons, Black Walnuts, Missouri, they're located not far from my farm, I think over in Cedar County, Missouri, which Stockton, Missouri is the capital there, but they're online. They sell everything black walnut, and they make stuff for all of the major holidays, et cetera. It's a great resource. It really is. Yeah. You know, it's only going to get worse and worse too, Doughboy, invasive species, because of, you know, the fact that people come into this country and they bring, you know, plants and animals with them that they're not supposed to. So it's only going to get worse and worse, you know. A little side story: the American chestnut tree, it suffers from blight. There are very few left in the United States, and one of the things that they did in the beginning, when the chestnut blight started in this country and the trees started to die, they just figured, well, we're going to lose them all, so we'll just cut them all down. And they went through all the ancient forests in the east and all the way across to the Great Plains, and they just cut down nearly all of the American chestnut trees. What they didn't realize was, if they would have left them alone, there might have been some of those that survived the blight, and we would have known that those are the ones that survived the blight. and we could have taken those and we could have grafted them, and we could today have an American chestnut tree that was immune to the blight. But we cut all these trees down because we thought we were going to lose them anyway, and that prevented us from being able to find the trees that could have survived it. So now there are some out there. My son and I are even thinking about doing this. There are lots of people out there that they just plant American chestnut trees. They watch them die. They plant them again. They watch them die. And we're just doing this in the hopes, along with the research that goes along with it, we're just hoping that one day one of them will survive, and they'll build their own natural immunity through evolution to the blight. And then we can take those and we can graft those and create a new American chestnut species. So, yeah, there are some left, oh boy. There are some left. It's just like you can plant one out here. You could plant one, let's say, in the middle of Nebraska where there are no other trees, and it'll live for a long time. But eventually, somehow, some way, chestnut blight will find its way to it, or it'll just eventually die. But no, there are still some. But the problem is it's a short life cycle. It's a short life cycle. Well, the problem is, Dina, is that they don't make a medicine for trees for blight. What you have to do is you have to continue to breed them until you find one that has a natural immunity in its own, let's call it internal DNA. And once that happens, once you find a tree that can survive it, and now that can be done. You can rush that process through grafting and trying to, merge two tree types together, that kind of thing. But you need to get to you got it. You need to get, it's not a fungus. No, it's a blight. Actually, for those of you that don't know, that's how trees communicate with each other, is through fungus under the ground. Let me give you an example. So if I go out and I plant 10 trees and I let them grow for 30 years, and then I plant 5 trees that are new, and let's say that the new trees that I planted, they're suffering from too little potassium. Through the fungus underground, those trees will communicate with one another, and the smaller trees will tell the bigger trees, hey, we need more potassium. And those bigger, hardier trees, they'll stop taking in potassium, or they'll take in a much smaller amount so that those younger trees that need it can draw more in so that they can grow. And so when you go and you look at a forest, what you don't see is this huge underground nerve system that exists inside a forest, where trees are communicating to each other to let each other know what nutrients they need, et cetera. So some will stop taking it so others can take it. It's one of the reasons I'm in agroforestry, is because of it's, just what we're learning there every day. It's pretty amazing. I'm going to see while I'm on here if I can find, hang on. I'm going to give you guys a book recommendation. If you'll bear with me here. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, or if you just love nature, I'll give you a couple of book recommendations here that you can read. Might take me a second to do that, but yeah, trees communicate with each other underground through the fungal network. It's really cool stuff, and we're learning more and more about it. And it just gives you a whole new outlook on trees. It's, when you go out into the forest now, you don't feel so weird. I've always talked to trees my entire life. I've always done that. And you don't feel quite as silly, I guess, when you do it now, because you realize that they're communicating with each other. So there's a German forester who I read a lot. His name is, I wanted to get the spelling of his last name. His name is Peter Wohlleben. It's Peter is the first name. The last name is W-O-H. Doughboy, can you type this in, Peter? Last name is W-O-H-L-L-E-B-E-N. W-O-H-L-L-E-B-E-N. If you just read any of his books, Many Stars, Finding the Mother Tree is a great book. It talks about a lot of the same stuff that Wohlleben talks in his books. And yeah, there you go. Thanks, Doughboy. But if you read any, see you, Kathy. Thanks for coming up. If you read any of his books, you're going to fall in love with the forest. You know, because so many farmers have this concept that when they come in, they need to clean off all the trees. They need to cut them all down. They need to create pasture. They need to buy cattle. And what we're learning now through agroforestry is that the two can exist together. So we're doing things like what we call silvopasture, where you have a row of trees, you know, every 30, 40 feet, and your cattle graze in between that, but you're creating a nut crop through these trees that you're planting, et cetera. So, all right, guys, any other questions? If not, I think we had a pretty successful first YouTube live, don't you? I really do. I think we did a good job here. A really good first live. All right. No more questions, I see. Okay, guys, listen, we've been at it for a long time. Thank you for coming over here and being my guinea pigs, okay? I was one too, but we got a great chance to see what YouTube looks like, what a live looks like. So I really appreciate you guys coming over here and doing this with me. And we're going to do it more often. I'm going to start doing a live here on YouTube at least once a week. Let me ask you guys a question. In the past, I've kind of stayed away from the earlier lives in the day because I didn't want to rub up against some of the other creators. But I kind of feel personally like we're beyond that point now, where maybe we just need to do our thing, and the people that want to come join us, they can do that. So I was thinking about doing a live maybe earlier in the day, around 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning Central Standard Time, say on Wednesday or Friday or something like that. Would that work for you guys? Let me see. Just give me a yes or blue heart or whatever you want over there. If you like the evening lives better, we can continue to only do that. But I thought I'd do some lives earlier in the day. Just look at you just took the words out of my mouth, many stars. Look at the analytics, etc. We'll keep doing the later ones too, Sarah. Don't worry about that. I promise you we'll do that. But we'll try some earlier ones as well. Yeah, 9 a.m., 10 a.m. Okay, good deal. All right, guys. Yeah, Doughboy, I'll reach out to you. Give me time to get in the truck, and I'm going to head home. I need to go get a healthy dinner, check on the dogs, all that good stuff. It'll be like 9 or 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. So that would be 10 or 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Mama. That's when that would be. So I'll give you a call. All right, guys. I'll let you know when that's going to be. I'll announce it here, and I'll announce it on TikTok while it's still up. Everybody have a great night. I'm going to, Doughboy. I'm going to stick to the turkey and chicken. I want to be around for a long time. Try Impossible Burger. It's wonderful. I'll write that down right now. Impossible Burger. All right. Okay, guys. Listen, everybody have a great weekend. I'll be Monday morning on TikTok at 8 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. I'll be on there for the news, okay? So thank you guys for coming over here and trying out TikTok with me, and I will talk to all of you very soon. I'll see you later.